If you conjure up the notion of the artist as a solitary genius, this is such a potent cultural viewpoint. It is so determinative of how we look at art and creativity. It's decades out of date. What I want to do with this TEDx talk is to try and shift your perceptions to what art is capable of beyond being a decorative element of your life. And I'm going to do that by highlighting, by taking you on a journey of art and ecological projects and art and economic projects that are collaborations. And the first is Jason DeCaires Taylor. This is an underwater sculpture park. It's off the coast of Lanzarote in the Atlantic Ocean. There is 300 sculptures, 30-meter long, 100-ton wall, and 12 installations. All of these sculptures are cast from a material that allows sea polyps to anchor and grow coral. It is basically a botanical garden. Each of the sculptures has a message and a meaning. The one up at the top right hand is of two executives on a sea soil, which is a petroleum extraction pump. It's reminding us of the controls on fossil fuels and their extraction, but the lack of regulation in their usage. The one below that, the mirror, it is built on 4 columns. They kind of look like cactus. They've got little compartments in them. And in there, we have places for octopus, we have sea crustaceans, we have juvenile fish. And on top, we have a quasi-human figure looking into the mirror. And the mirror is reflecting the sea's surface. It reminds us that the connection between the air and the sea is intimate, and what we do to one will affect the other. The park was opened in 2017, and in that time, the biomass has increased by 200%. The Canary Isles, and particularly Lanzarote, now have a growing leisure industry, tourist industry, of guided underwater tours, boats with glass bottoms, etc. And the byproduct is the real coral reefs south have actually recovered from overpopulation by tourists. So we see economic growth and sustainability, and we see ecological growth and sustainability. One of his earlier works is The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And this is in the Thames River in London. At high tide, you can't see them. At low tide, they emerge, and they stare ominously at the Houses of Parliament, which is the British equivalent of the White House, reminding those in power that they have an obligation to the people and to the stewardship of our economies and our environments. He's not the only one, though. We have Agnes Dennis, whom this is 1982 in New York. This is called Wheatfield, in the shadow then of the Twin Towers, a stone's throw from Wall Street, and as you can see, with a great view of the Statue of Liberty. That piece of land in New York then was worth $4.5 billion. So she grew the wheat, she harvested the wheat. The project was sponsored by Minnesota's Museum of Art, and it was to celebrate, naively, the end of world hunger. All of that wheat was gathered and sent to 20 other cities across the planet where it was planted and grown again. But she's more famous for Tree Mountain. This is in Finland. A company had created a quarry, extracted something, and left a huge quarry behind. The Finnish government are not that rich, and there was not a lot they could do with the environmental threat that this left. So Agnes decided to use art and social activism. Just like we've seen in Occupy Wall Street, you see Banksy doing it with his graffiti. And she motivated hundreds of Europeans to give time, money, and resources. And they went to Finland. And not only did they stabilize the environmental threat to the water table, working in collaboration with geologists, she also filled it in and built a mountain, that is not a hill, and planted 11,000 conifer trees in a spiral reminiscent of a sunflower spiral of seeds. This is not about human ego, which often people mistake for famous artists. This is about handing to the next generation a message. This is a 240-year living artwork on a planet's surface to remind us of our stewardship, the fragility of our environment, and to remind corporations, you owe us for what you take and make a profit on. So here, looking at environmental issues in Montana, at the Montana State University and in the School of Art, which is what I'm a director for, we have the International Wild Clay Research Project. This is designed to look at sustainable practices in relation to clay and in relation to energy sources that we use to make clay products. We do a huge amount of research. Recently, one of our students, Rachel Jones, an MFA, graduated last May. Her work was to make seed banks, basically slip-cast thermos flasks, very beautiful looking, with a 3.5-foot chain. At that level in the ground, temperatures don't really change that much. So it gives the seeds the greatest possibility of being viable in the future, depending on their DNA. And of course, at the top, there's a gorgeous white capstone rock, so we can remember where we buried it, which is really important if you want the seeds back. There's about 250 of these across the planet these days as part of our project, and our website's still active, so if you want one for your backyard, send Rachel an email. What was more important, though, it caught the attention of the Arava Center for Sustainable Ecology, and they're based in Israel. And they gave her one of the 20 fellowships, never ever to an artist before, to go there last summer, to work with Bedouin women, to look at how do you create seed banks to sustain their seeds through fierce summers and bitter cold winters in the desert. So I think it's really important to think about what are those forces, ecology and economics. Fun fact, I got some fun facts today. Globally, and you can check this out, globally the creative industries generates 8 times the wealth as the sports industry. Think about that. We all know the sports industry is a multi-billion dollar. So when we actually look at that economic force, we realize working with art and artists can resolve endemic, chronic, ecological or economic problems. Here is in the Aomori province in Japan, and this is Ana-Akeda village. They, like a lot of agricultural rural villages like we do towns here in America, face a problem. One is the salaries ain't great for this kind of work. 2, these products are essential for a food support source, and in a lot of cases they are subsidized by governments. And then 3, the big one, the young people are leaving these places, they're going to the cities. So they face the same problems as us. But working with artists, they also face the same joy that we have here in Montana. The landscape is stunningly beautiful. So they built viewing platforms, and they worked with their computers, and there was 5 types of rice. Each had a different color of leaf, from brown to black to white to green. And every spring and summer, these amazing pop art, manga art, or Japanese art appear in the landscape. From being a rural, economically challenged village, they now have over 200,000 tourists visiting them per year. There is boutiques. There is all the infrastructure you would expect. The young people are no longer leaving because there's good salaries, diversity of jobs. They are still maintaining an agrarian culture and supplying rice and grains. This is such a successful meme that has spread across Japan and now into mainland China. But not everything needs to be as big and as grand as an underwater park or massive landscapes of paintings. West Bali Beach. This is goby the fish. Goby is made of not spectacular art materials. It's barbed wire and wire fencing. And he has a sign in several languages that says, "Feed me, goby likes plastic." So here we hit the crux. Bali, a huge tourist destination with that problems. Also, the Sea of Bali, they're estimating there'll be more plastic by 2050 than fish in the ocean. So it's washing up everywhere. This really appealed to kids. All those blue bins of recycling, kids are not that excited about that. But getting a bottle to lob it into Goby's gob, it's pretty awesome. So, these kids are running the beaches, scouring it, getting their detritus away, getting other tourist detritus away, and actually picking up the plastic that's being washed up on the beaches. Here in America, we need a Goby the fish in every beach. or even in every park. Motivational art, here it triggers the right reaction we want from kids. But it can also trigger the right reaction we want from bigger kids. One of the busiest airports in Japan had a huge sanitation problem. Spillage of urinal on the walls and on the floors. Us men, we are disgusting. I apologize for my gender. They got together with artists and they came up with this little decal of flies which they placed, as it were, a target to aim at. See, I told you I was going to change your mind about art and culture. This reduced the sanitation bills and the workload by 75% in costs and time. We are disgusting. But here's the byproduct. There's always a byproduct. This meant then there was no major issues of urine being tracked in the soles of shoes into parts of the airport it should not have been, where kids are sitting playing on the floor. Everything has a cause and effect in multiple ways. Art and sustainable ecology, art and sustainable economics is not a linear structure. It is a much more complicated structure. So let's get back here to Bozeman. It was a great lunch, fantastic food. We have a disposable problem. Cups, plates, spoons. So how do we deal with it? So here's a suggestion for anybody. I am only choosing this at random. I'm just thinking of coffee shops because I like coffee. So if you own a coffee shop, think about this. We're expanding, this city's expanding at 4% per year. We're up there 45, 47,000 people. That's a big growth rate. 1 in 7 is in the creative industries. We are a huge creative hub. And we have one of the biggest creative artistic communities. Everybody in this audience knows an artist, I guarantee you, or 2 or 3 or 4. So what if I own this coffee shop and rather than spending thousands of dollars in disposable cups, plates, spoons, probably coming from companies abroad, what if I then am not spending a fortune with the city getting my dumpsters delivered and emptied twice a day? Because that's the level we're looking at of disposability, let alone some of the bad customers that leave them lying in department store shelves in Target. You know who you are, please don't do it. What if they decide to hire ceramists, metalsmiths, printmakers here in town, pay them a fair salary for the product because it ain't going to be gone next year or the year after, it's there. That means that money economically stays in our community. Now, since everybody knows these artists, I'll tell you this. I know I'd go to that coffee shop because I want to pick up a Josh DeWeese cup and drink out of it. Or a Dean Adams somewhere up at the back of the room there. Or I want to use a spoon made by Brian Peterson. I am going to be loyal. So my money is coming back into that shop. It spent money into my community. So you see the pattern here for art and sustainable economics and for art and sustainable ecology. It is a circle for both of them. It's a cyclic structure that goes back into the system for the system to change it, to bring it back forward. In the fourth industrial revolution, it is less about how or what you know. It is about how you apply what you know to the situation. Art and culture is how we grow. Technology is just a byproduct of it. And those values are the values that exist within the artistic and creative community. Thank you very much.